When you meet someone at a dinner party and they say, "What do you do?" How do you answer?
Well, I talk about peace, and that's been my endeavor since I was 9 years of age. I've been talking to people about peace because I think that's an important ingredient that we're missing. There's nothing in the world that sets us up to really recognize ourselves, who we are. Socrates talked about this, know thyself. And yet, what is in this world? Once in a while, you might come across Socrates only by mistake. And then, what is the value of that? What reflects in our social media? What reflects in our world that we go about every single day that says, oh, by the way, did you today know yourself? Do you know yourself today? Do you understand who you are? Do you see the whole world in a way that you've been trained to see? I've got to wear clothes, I've got to wear this kind of clothing, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to take this with me, I've got to do this with me, I've got to contact this person. But what about contacting you as a human being? And a lot of times we say, okay, why is my world so strange sometimes? Well, could it be that you're looking at a map and you're saying, well, the map is good. I love the map. And I've got where I want to be on this map marked in big X. But the big question is, where are you on the map? Because if you don't know where you are in the map, that map is useless to you, because how are you going to plan your navigation to where you want to be? So everybody's going around on their map marking the X's. I want to be here, I want to be here, I want to be here. But where are you? And who are you? And so this is the message, because I think that can profoundly change the world. Because I see that change happen in people's lives who are in prisons. Just imagine the viewpoint that they have. They're seeing the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. Every day, every day. And yet, there is some goodness in this humanity, and each one of us. And we have to do something to bring it out. We've created a society in which literally the worst of us comes out without a problem. But we haven't really created a society in which the best of us comes out.
You meet someone at a dinner party and you say, "I'll talk about peace."
Yes.
And they say, well, how? And how did you arrive at this place when you talk about peace?
Well, it's been going on for a really long time. My first speech that I gave is when I was 4. And I felt that, okay, there was a huge gathering of people.
And you were 4 years old.
I was 4 years of age. And it was an event that my father had pulled together. And I realized that everybody was just really fragmented. Everybody was going about their own business and nobody was there. And I felt that my father's message, again, about peace, was very important. So I went out there and I just said, listen, guys, we need to be all focused, because here's an opportunity that we have. We are alive. And we don't see our life, and I'm paraphrasing, we don't see our life from the context of birth and death, that there's a limited amount of time that we have on the face of this earth. But there's peace inside of each one of us. And aren't you interested in that peace? Don't you want that peace in your life? And then it began. So I would address a lot of audiences. And then people got very interested. And it worked for them. And this is the thing. It's building upon what works, not what doesn't work. So it just has been doing that, and people have been coming, and there is no strings attached. There's no strings attached. You like it, fine. You don't like it, fine. Even peace in your life, you don't like it, fine. You want to be out there in the war, and that's how you see yourself, fine. But then people do recognize and realize, and it builds, and it builds, and more people get interested, and more people get interested.
And then I know you spoke at the first as you started to become more established, the first Glastonbury Fair.
Yes.
Didn't you? Was that 1971?
Yes, that was an amazing thing, because you don't know the story behind that. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go because I felt, they already have their agenda all set. But people just kept saying, please go, please go, please go. So I started going for a drive. I just asked the person, I said, take me for a drive. I'm thinking, I'm thinking, and I'm going, well, what am I going to say to them? They're there to listen to music. I can't sing, and I'm not going to play a guitar. I can't play a guitar. So what do I do? And then I realized, well, what you've always done, put your message out. Maybe somebody's life will change. Maybe you will never know them, but their life will change. Isn't that why you do it? So I arrived there, and everybody was there. Okay, the next song, and all of a sudden there was no next song. I brought out a chair, I sat down on it, and I started addressing these people. And amazingly enough, pin drop silence. People were actually listening. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll keep this brief. I know you want your music, but here it is. That one, what you're looking for is inside of you. Then there is peace possible. Peace is possible. And I spoke for a few minutes. I don't even remember how long I spoke for. I was off the stage. Things could begin. And for me, and I know for a lot of people, everything changed. Everything changed. For me, it changes like, listen, you don't have to have only those people in the audience that have absolutely said, okay, I want to listen about peace.
Yeah.
You can have anybody. And it's a message that really, truly can touch people in a very beautiful way. Keep it simple, keep it real.
My instinct is it's quite hard to argue with a message. Yeah, we all want more peace. Be quite nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So why don't we have more?
Well, because we've got our map, and it takes a long time to come up with that map because everybody gives you an input. This is what you want on this map, and this is where you want to go visit. And of course, once you start traversing, you realize, well, I'm not getting to where I'm going. I mean, do you realize how real that is for people? They go and they do this and they do this and they graduate and then they find a job and everything else. And all of a sudden they're realizing, is this it? And everything. I mean, like dieting, for instance. I mean, I guess a lot of people can relate to the dieting. So you start with your dieting and things are going really good. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, one, it's not working for you, or two, you're losing interest in it and you're not following it exactly the way you should be. And somebody else is having an ice cream cone and you want one too. And things just fall apart. And so people go on one diet to another diet to another diet to another diet. Well, it's very easy to understand it in relationship to diets. But if that's happening to diets, guess what else is happening in our life that's very much like that? That we've set out, made our resolution for the first of New Year, and here we go, and it falls apart, and it falls apart, and it falls apart. The quest for peace also falls apart. And a lot of people start then saying, and it's kind of like the sour grapes, the story of the fox, couldn't reach the grapes. For a lot of people, it's like, well, peace is not going to happen. And this is the first reaction I get. When I say, I was going through customs once, and the guy asked me, he says, what do you do? I said, I talk about peace. He goes, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. There's so much problems in this world. There's so much greed in this world that the peace isn't going to happen. And so I really started thinking about that. And it's like, well, how did greed come about? Is it grow on trees? Does it, naturally found in rivers or icebergs or what? And it's human created. Greed is a very much a thing that is exercised by human beings. So if human beings can do it, that means they can reverse it too. And maybe there's an incentive that needs to be given. And that's where this message comes in. Look, in the midst of all of your war that you're fighting at any given time, there's something else that's going on. There's a clock ticking. You can do nothing about it. You can't rewind it. You can't pause it. And there's a quest for peace from your heart. But you need to know yourself to find that.
When you do big events like you're doing this weekend, for example, how do you encourage people to find their purpose more? Or maybe they know their purpose, but it's not actually happening for them. Are there I mean, what format is there to the day that you help people to kind of find that inner purpose and kind of live their best lives?
It's very simple, really. We just need to be reminded. Our power to forget is exceptional, and we forget. We get so caught up in this world that we forget, hey, by the way, you're alive, you know. And being alive becomes a second grade thing. It's like, yeah, so what? What have you told me, by the way, that I didn't already know? Yeah, and go tell that same statement to a person who's lying on the hospital bed taking their last breath. And they will have a totally different appreciation. I've done it, I've seen it. They'll have a totally different appreciation than that person, you know, whose agenda is to go to, you know, this fancy football game or fancy dinner game or fancy something or fancy dress party. And it's like, wait a minute, we do need to be reminded, especially in this world, which is so confusing and just so much attraction out there that it's distracting us from these fundamental things that we need to be reminded, you know, and that's so important. That's so important, that peace is possible. We need to be told every single day. Whatever you practice most, you get good at it. And if that's the way things are, because that's how it happens, whatever we practice the most, we get good at it. And so look around your life. How long does it take you to get upset? So is that what you're practicing, getting upset? You know, and how long does it take you to just relax? Well, it's like breathe deeply, sit down. But getting anger, getting mad, you don't need to sit down to get mad. You don't need to breathe deeply to get mad. You can get mad just like that. So we're practicing that. You got to break the bad habits. If you don't break the bad habits in your life, those will perpetuate and they will shape your life and your future.